Oh, hello there, Outliers. Niiamah Ashong here. And thank you so much for letting me be a part of your journey. I say me, but it's really us because today we are joined by five amazing and incredible outliers. I We are here on an Outliers Edge roundtable where we find how outliers have continued to break through the norm and continue to keep growing in their impact, income, and integrity as they're out there building and blazing a trail in alignment with who they are. So we're going to dive into that here today. I'm excited for this a robust roundtable conversation. Let's get you to know the outliers that are here today. Can we start with you, Tolu, and then we'll go to Jessie.
Yeah, so my name is Tolu. I work as a mental health therapist and I own my own practice called Ashia Therapy, which is a private practice that's dedicated to serving the BIPOC community in Canada with mental health issues or whatever it is that they would like on their personal growth and development journey. And yeah.
Well, it's good to have you here, Tolu. Why don't we go to Jessie and then Kiontre?
Hi, I'm Jessie. I have been a podcaster for almost 5 years now, started way back in 2020. The Positively You podcast, it is for millennial moms looking to up level, looking to build their confidence and then kind of master their mindset. So it's been a fun journey and excited to see where we're headed next.
Well, excited to have you here. We'll go to Kiontre and then Amara.
Hey everybody, my name is Kiontre. I have a podcast and it's for men and just bringing men together and helping us grow in our development and pushing us along further to evolve and grow in every way that we can, not just financially, not just in business, but also in our personal lives as well.
Awesome there. And Kiontre, what's the name of that podcast?
Wisdom for men.
Wisdom for Men. Awesome. We're glad to have you here. Then we'll go to Amara and then we'll go to Tiana.
Hi guys, my name is Amara. My podcast is called Am Stop Talking, and I started this because I just lost my mother 8 months ago. And this podcast is actually helping people to fit into their way of lives, how to go about in life. We talk about different topics like, which would actually help people and people benefit from them. So this is what my podcast is all about. I've done 8 episodes till now, and I'm looking forward to more. So let's see.
So are we. We're looking forward to that as well. Thank you, Amara, and sorry to hear about your loss here. Tiana, help bring us home on this one.
Hi, I'm Tijana Tamburic. I run a all-female creative agency called Female Narratives, where we bring over 100 female freelancers together to work and tell stories for brands.
Fantastic. Oh, I'm so excited, y'all. Today the first question that's coming to my mind, because I'm hearing all of y'all, I'm like, y'all are amazing. If you don't mind me just saying this. And I'm gonna coin this one today as the audacity question, right? And the thing in my mind is like, it's like a lot of outliers out there, like, who am I to start a creative agency or to do this or to that, right? And I'd love for you to take us to that like audacious moment when you like, or how you deal with the audacity of like who you are in terms of building this thing that you wanted to build. Does anyone feel? I think I'm gonna go in the reverse order this time around. Tiana, would you mind like letting us know about like an audacious moment for you, or like how you came to like say like I'm just doing this?
Yeah, I guess the kind of backstory of starting my business was that I was a model for 10 years. So very much working on that side of the lens. And I would often have lots of like ideas when I was on a shoot. I wanted to put forward story ideas or concept ideas or talent ideas. And at least back then, they would look at the model and be like, why is the clothes hanger speaking? This shouldn't be happening. And so I really wanted to kind of do something different in the industry, change the industry from within, I suppose, rather than being bitter about it. And I guess the audacity was inbuilt in naivety. I was 24 when I started my business 8 years ago. And so I guess my business partner and I, who was also a model, we were just friends. We met on a flight to Ibiza. We had no idea what we were doing, had no experience in marketing or advertising. And it was really, I guess, yeah, the naive audacity to be like, I think we could just do this just as well as any other massive Soho-based creative agency. And so I think just the beginning, we just said, if we can do one project our way where, you know, the model doesn't have her hips measured in front of everybody, and all of the talent on set have equal, you know, creative responsibility and respect, then we would have achieved something and we would be happy. And so we did that once and then twice and then 3 times, and then it kind of really like grew into a business itself. So I guess the process of kind of beginning and a combination of naivety and audacity, I suppose.
Yeah, I am really grateful we started out this way. I'm ready. There's gonna be some follow-up questions on this here. I want to hear from Amara though. Amara, tell me about like you know, your audacious moments when it comes to the podcast and what you're building out there.
Um, I don't know. I started this. I mean, a few of my friends had some issues in life and they had nowhere to go or to talk about it. So one day we were just sitting, we just started talking, and it just turned out to be a podcast. It just happened. You know what I mean? So
Yeah,
I
I
mean,
love this. I like because what I'm hearing from you is like it's like there was a problem. You started talking to your friends around it, and then like the natural outcome of this one here was like we're gonna create a podcast from it, and then you did, which I love. It's like that like that's one thing because I've been hanging out with my friend. Go ahead, Amara.
and we started talking about different things. Then I started calling up my friends, and they wanted to speak up. And the topic which really bothering everyone was bullying these days. People are bullying everyone in school and mental health. So that was one thing that we actually are focusing on right now in my podcast.
Thanks, Amara. Thanks for getting to see this,
So
and thanks for stepping into it. We're gonna keep playing here. I'm gonna go to Kiontre for a little bit. Kiontre, tell us a bit about you, some of your audacious moments, and we'll build from there.
Um, Audacious moment for me. I think I have a lot of those coming from where I come from, a very small town in Pensacola, Florida, and just, small town mindset. So there wasn't a lot of exposure. There wasn't a lot of opportunity. So I left and went to the military, which is one. And then leaving the military at the end of 6 years at the height of the pandemic, which we've all experience we've all been through at the height of pandemic, leaving security, leaving my safety net, leaving anything that I could fall back on, leaving the island of Guam, which I was away, 2,000 miles from my home. Uh, After 6 years, getting out of the military with no plan, no agenda. I had a plan, but I had a location and a destination with no network, no net worth, and just started building because I saw the opportunity to build more. Um, Being in another country that's not as fortunate as America with the opportunities, I really saw the advantage that I had coming back. So there was a new mindset, and I saw a new opportunity that didn't have a cap. And in the military, there was a limitation. And I didn't want to do anything else in my life with any more limitations, especially coming from where I come from. We are only confined to what we can see. And I understood exposure and the law of exposure. Once my mind saw the things that I saw and I learned the things that I learned, I said, I have to go. I have to leave right now. Even though there's a pandemic, even though everything is shut down, even though, people don't know what to do. We don't know what to do. Businesses don't know what to do. I'm going to go and start my own thing. And I just had a heart to change, to really change, to educate people where I'm from my background, from my demographic, to say, hey, you know what? There's so much more opportunity out here, just like a podcast, just like a lawn care business, whatever it may be. And then I hit a point where I hit a stride in my success, and I saw it wasn't just about the money. And initially it was just about the money. And that was another audacious moment where I said, you know what? I don't want to just be limited to money. I want peace. I want joy. I want kindness. I want gentleness in my life. And how do I merge the two? How do I marry the two to not only do what I want when I get ready, but I also want to do it with who I want to be with. And that type of freedom is what I live and what I stand for. So.
Outliers. Jesse, we're gonna come to you in a bit, and then we're gonna come to Tolu. But I want to just come here and check in with you, Outliers, because like I'm going, like it feels like I'm just going all the way through everyone. It's not that. I want Outliers. I want you all to feel this, right? Like feel the moment here. I'm energized listening to each of you talk about how you stepped into things. And Outliers, I'm gonna ask you this, right? This is an opportunity to move from being a consumer to a creator. The same question I'm asking each person here, and this will go for the entire rest of this conversation. Pretend that you're on this round table. How would you answer that? What's something audacious that you've done? What if you were in front of people and you had to share your story? What would it be? And if you're like, I haven't done anything audacious, it's like, great. What's the story you would want to tell? And then go do that. Right. All right, thank you. We're gonna keep building off of what y'all got here. I'd like to give everyone the chance to bring themselves in with this first question. So let's go to Jessie and then Tolu.
Niiamah, I feel like you set me up perfectly for what I wanted to say. Especially when you said if you're listening to this and you want to go from like consumer to creator, because that was exactly like my audacious moment. I have been a consumer of especially like personal development. I remember being like 6 and 7 years old and getting like journals or 7 Habits of Highly Effective Teens and just devouring it and loving it. And when podcasts came out, I started just consuming all of those and thinking to myself, I could do this, I could do this. And I thought that for years, right? And then sat back and then had the imposter syndrome that came in and all the voices of like, well, what will those mean girls from high school think of you? Or what will, all of these like stupid thoughts that come in that stop us from doing it. And just with the few of you that have talked already, the thing that keeps popping out to me is like you took a step, right? You took that first step. And sometimes that's the audacity. It's not like a big, huge thing. It's that you just take that first little step. And if you get to know me a lot, that's a huge part of who I am and what I talk about a lot. And not to get too cliche, but I'll bring it back around to like a big audacious moment, I guess. Mine was definitely one of those cliche things of almost like a near-death experience. My family was involved in a car accident that probably could have taken our entire lives, all of us, and we walked away without a scratch. It was miraculous. And that was kind of that moment where I thought, I don't want to live in regret. I want to do the things that are on my heart and on my mind. And that's the audacity, right? I want to just not say, I wish, or I wish I would have. Instead, I'm saying, why not? Let's do it.
Thanks for that, Jessie. I'm glad everything worked out for your family there as well. Let me just make sure I say that because I feel that. Thank you. Tolu, bring us home.
Yeah, so for myself, kind of similar to Kiontre, was really in terms of when the pandemic had happened. So my background's actually in business, specifically human resources. And especially during the height of the pandemic, and just looking at with the uproar of George Floyd and all of the things that were happening, especially for the Black community in Canada in general, there isn't a lot of therapists that of color who look like myself. And even statistics show it's only 4% of therapists out there that are Black. And so especially for us and the experience that we've had with like the systems and things like that and not trusting of it. And so I thought to myself during then, what a perfect time to go back to university and get my master's in counseling psych, as I saw the need for representation, people to have safe spaces, but especially in the BIPOC community where they can have safe spaces to talk about their experiences and not feel judged and feel stigmatized and also feel less isolated, especially for Black folks. There's a lot of, messaging and rhetoric regarding being strong and being Black and all of this. And where are we also going to have those spaces for ourselves where we can just drop the shield, right? And also have opportunities to take care of our mental health and have support and community. So I saw this as an opportunity to bridge that gap. And I decided to be audacious and apply for my master's, even though it was totally different from like what my first degree was in. I was really nervous. I was like, what the heck am I doing? I don't have a background in psych whatsoever. And I took that on. I was like, you know what? I'm going to go in, I'm going to do my master's, I'm going to put myself out there. And so I did, attained my master's, did my practicum, and then I decided I was going to go into private practice. So I decided I'm not going to go the route of, let's say, working at a different agency. I was like, I'm going to start my own and also let people who know and look like myself, because there isn't a lot of people who look like myself that are coming into this field. So just that was kind of my step of being audacious of like, I'm going to do this. I'm going to start my own practice. I'm going to also show other people or Black females who look like myself in Canada that you can do this and you can help people. And it's super rewarding. And yeah, I love what I do. And I feel like it's such an honor to be a part of other people's lives and help them along their journey. And so, yeah, that's kind of what that step. And it might feel scary. It might feel like, what are you doing? You might experience imposter syndrome, but don't let that stop you, right? It's just taking that one step and making that first decision.
Well, I appreciate this here. And now everyone, we've gone around. So what I like to do now is just like open up the space here so we can have some like cross talking. Let's be mindful of each other. Let's keep our like responses. Like if you said it, like let it go. Like we can move on. But just know that it doesn't have to be like Niiamah's calling on you. Like if there's something that lights you up, let's have the conversations that outliers are probably having inside of their head. There's so much that y'all have already brought into this table here. Totally, like you talked about the 4% of people who of therapists who are black. Like I have this thing in my mind I call like the 3% club, because when I was like in tech, I was there's 3% of African Americans. I was a retirement actuary, 3% actuaries. I was like, what's this 3% thing? You know? And so each of you have like found ways to change the status quo, to live into it a bit. And I'd love for us to like share a little bit. I'd love to, if you can tell either some stories or sometimes about how you navigated being one of the first or one of the only in something that you did. Now, this does not have to be like being like within your industry, sorry, as like stepping into the industry overall. It doesn't have to have like that like the epicness of that. It could be I had this project or there's something that I'm working on right now that's really excited me and I haven't seen anyone else do it. And this is how I'm going about it. I just feel like that shows up a lot for us here as outliers. And I want to get your take on it. So is anyone here that has a story or something they'd like to share around being one of the first, one of the only, or one of a kind in the things that they are bringing to life right now?
Sorry, I didn't get your story about what?
How they're being one of the first, one of the only, or one of a kind, and what you're doing, and how you're navigating that.
I'm
Yeah,
happy to go first,
please.
just because I think my age, like the thing that comes to mind first is that my agency is obviously called Female Narratives, and our whole thing is that we are women. And so we were like kind of one of the first agencies of that kind. There's now obviously loads of kind of Instagram accounts just dedicated to female content and all of these things. And I think for us, it was, we kind of wished to own that difference and that point, and we didn't see it as pigeonholing us or being sexist or being too specific, because we could not compete with the ginormous ad agencies that already existed in London. So we were like, okay, we need a point of difference. We need a USP to get into the conversation. And my business partner and I are both women of a similar age, sort of similar experiences and problems. And so we were like, we just have to own that we are both women doing this thing, and that all of the other creatives that we are working with happen to be women. And so I think once we did that, we then very much rode the wave of, you know, Trump was then elected, the Women's March happened, Me Too happened, all of these things kind of started to cascade. And I think brands like actually really liked that we had done that, and it didn't feel like a bad idea.
You know, I want to capture something real quick here, because you use a word that's really important to me, and the word you used was own. You owned, right? It wasn't like you went out and said, "Let me go find some niche that I like feel is out there." You're like, "This is already happening. This is who we are. These are who our clients are. This is what we're drawn toward. Let's just own that and lean into that. Lean into that further." Did I get that right, Tijana?
Yeah, I think so. I think it was very much like your authenticity is your difference, which is quite cliche but true. And so we kind of we just called a spade, you know, like no, there was no other agency in Soho that could say that they did what we were doing, and so we just kind of rolled with that.
Yeah, I think that I think what makes it cliche is when it's not acted on, when it's said but not actually done. And like there's nothing that feels cliche about what you're doing. Like when you talked about it as like owning it and Outliers, I'm going to give you that invitation here. What's something that you might have just like stumbled on or whatever it is, that if you move from accepted or like allowed or chose, and instead like took on that level of I own this. Like this is it. This is who I am, an outlier, y'all. The reason we have Outliers Edge is because I'm not like other people. I'm in that 3% club, and I own it. And I'm like, all right, let's go on and play. I think you've given us a new level of playing the game, Tijana, that steps up where most people like kind of get stopped. Kiontre, I'm feeling some energy from you here, man. Like what do you want to bring into the conversation?
Yeah, I'm about to explode over here. First of all, thank you, Niiamah Ashong. I really appreciate it. Thank you to everybody on the panel, man. I'm really inspired to just even talk about entrepreneurship or just our own personal journeys as we are similar outliers in our different fields and our different perspectives on where we come from. So it's really amazing to connect with other people all around the world. I think it's really dope. I'm actually on the opposite end of Tijana, and maybe I didn't know what I was doing. Can I just be honest before I say this? Can I be honest? Y'all not gonna judge me.
Please do. Please
Y'all
do.
not
This
gonna
is it.
judge me.
We're
Look,
going to see the power of honesty, the superpower of honesty. Hit us with it, Kiontre.
listen, I told you I'm from a small town, right? And if my southern draw start coming out, it's because I'm getting comfortable. All right. But I didn't have any business acumen. I didn't have financial literacy. I didn't have credit. I didn't have uh the vernacular of business to understand what a USP is, unique selling proposition. I didn't understand these things. So my level of personal development was more than just being on time. My personal development was the whole diaspora of everything you needed to be successful in business. And what that looked like for me, it was very, very blunt. It was very like overwhelming. You know what I'm saying? When you come in and you're trying to figure out how to market, I didn't even know what these terms were. I didn't know anything about anything, but I'm trying my hand. I'm exposing myself on Instagram. I'm exposing myself on YouTube. I've been listening to Eric Thomas since I was probably like 12 or 13 years old. And I'm hearing these different levels of how I should think, how I should operate, how I should be motivated. And like you said, as we're all outliers, one of the biggest things for me is you get to a certain point, it's like, what do I do next? And I had to figure out, okay, I'm doing business. I've gotten into this industry, but is this something I love? Because I figured out how to make the money. I figured out how to draw people. I figured out how to target an audience. Okay, but now what am I specifically designed to do? What are my naturally given gifts that I've been born with that have been institutionalized inside of me that naturally flow? And one of those things is communication. And I would play it down all the time. I ran from it because I didn't know how to make money. I didn't know how to help people. I didn't know what it was. And so what I realized is that one of the things that I've been gifted with is the ability to synthesize information. I didn't even know what that was. As I continue to personally develop, I began to understand that probably like 2 weeks ago, if I'm just being honest. And so I'm like, wow, I've gotten all of this information. How can I help other people? Well, one of the things that I do is when I communicate is to show everybody we all understand pain. We all understand, hey, there's a group of people that I like to help. There's a group of people that I can relate to. And if I can solve this problem, guess what? I now have a business. And for me, it's not business anymore. And this is what all these gurus and different individuals who have taught me. And I feel like these were my friends because where I come from, there was nobody talking like this. So a lot of my friends were on the internet. A lot of my friends were in communities just like this. And I didn't know how to network. I didn't know how to do any of this stuff. I would get in the room and I would just be quiet. I'm standing there waiting for people to come around. And so all of this led me to a point of, really growing and understanding myself, understanding who I am to really serve at the highest level. And you say, you know what? It's not about me because I really understand now that when you help people and you're a genuine good person and we do the things that we do and we're creating spaces and doors and opportunities and we're giving answers, like I really do love this. Only good things can come out of it when you're genuine. Only good things can come out of it when you're honest. Only good things can come out of it. So we can figure out the money. We can figure out, and there's people out there that there are only money. But I learned and I discovered where I am. This is what I want. This is what I desire. And what I'm trying to communicate is we have to define our level of success. Success looks totally different for everybody. Everybody on this podcast right now, everybody on this Outliers podcast right now is successful in their own right. And once I began to understand that, it's not what this person looks like, it's not what that person looks like, but I had to define it for myself. It gave me the ultimate clarity to move forward in my life. I'm successful. Can I say how I'm successful? Is that okay?
Obviously, some nods there for, please.
I'm able to do what I want, when I want, with who I want. And that's what I believe everybody desires. It's not just about the business. It's not just about your industry, but helping people get to a place of freedom, get into a place and say, you know what? I just want to call my mom for 2 hours. Even though I had a traumatic relationship growing up, even though I had to work through a lot of things, because once I got the money, all of my issues, Tolu, all of my issues, I needed that mental health. I needed it. I needed to work through some things because there's a backside to success. There's a backside to all the blessings that I receive, all the freedom that I have. When you have that much time, you can only sit down and think what I went through in the military, the racism I endured, the discrimination I endured, all the things that I endured to be the best that I could be. I wasn't trying to offend anybody. I wanted to help everybody. But what I realized was that my confidence began to offend people. And it wasn't the confidence that I had. I'm just trying to get somewhere in my life. I came too far.
So
I'm
I love this
2,000
element
miles
here.
away.
I
You know
love
what
this
I
element.
mean?
I came too far. You know, like outliers. What I want to do right now, just like I want to keep talking to y'all because it's an ongoing conversation, and I want to open up to everyone else. But like, take some time right now. Keontre just dropped a lot in there, like energetically. If you're not watching this, like you can see there's some vigorous head nods. Like we are in. So make sure you take some time to just capture like one or two things about what Keontre just shared that touched you, that lit something up for you, and tap into why. I want to keep opening this up here. Like Tolu, Jessie, Tijana, Amara, anything else you want to bring? Anything that's popping off for you as a result of anything that Keontre's putting in?
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, go Tolu.
Sorry.
You were
Oh,
first.
okay. I would say like it's okay. I feel like for myself, it's okay to also be in a place of still figuring it out as well. Even though you may not know. So for myself, I have an idea of what my unique selling proposition is, but I feel like I'm still in that space of still figuring it out, right? Like, yes, the business is Black owned, for instance. Yes, I work with millennial and Gen Z females who are Black or BIPOC. But it's also okay to still be in that phase, especially of figuring it out. I started my practice about a year ago. Actually, it hasn't even been like a full year yet. It's been about 10 months or so far, and still being in that space of figuring it out, right? And knowing that it's a journey, right? It's a journey, it's a continuation. As you go on, you might figure out some more things about, okay, this is what makes me unique. This is what makes me different, right? But I know, for instance, like looking back at some of the things that's been able to help you get to where you're at, right? Such as like being a risk taker, right? Going against the grain, right? And so even though you're still figuring out what your unique selling proposition, it's okay if you don't know what it is, or you might be thinking to yourself, okay, well, what is mine? Or like, okay, I know I have these skills, but how does the puzzle like fit in? And know that it's okay to go through that process of just unknown and still figuring it out. Give yourself that space, and it will come to you with time, right? So yeah.
Tolu, I love that you said that because I think Tiana, you're the one that brought it up first, is that naivety that you said. And I think in this instance, and from what everyone is saying, like naivety is your superpower. And I think that that is when you can lean into that, that makes you an outlier, right? Because so often we want to wait to make a move until we have all of the information. We get information overload and we have to know all the things. Keontae, you said that you're like, I didn't know what I was doing. And I think that that's actually like what propelled you forward, is that you didn't know what you were doing. And that really is our superpower when we can get there. And then Keontae, you said too, like you went too far, that like that success has that other side. Identifying what success is for you. When we look around so often, we can compare ourselves and say like, well, I'm not as successful as, XYZ, or they're doing this differently. But when I can get really, really clear on like what my core values are, and Keontae, you said like, can I tell you why I'm successful? And like why you're successful is going to be different than why I'm successful, right? And I think that that is so, so important, is getting clear on like what your unique definition of success is, because if you don't have that, you're going to constantly be chasing something that isn't even for you. Like, so I love, love, love that you brought that up.
If I can, I'd really love to kind of add a thing that I feel kind of rounds off what you're saying. I think it's super interesting because if I was asked that question now, what's the most audacious thing that I've done after 8 years of my business, knowing what I know now about the industry, with all the knowledge I have, very much not naive anymore, I would say it is like redefining success for myself away from the capitalist masculine model of what people think success should be. And I say masculine not in men or male or female, but I mean masculine as in the like qualities. And yeah, it was like 2 years ago, we basically decided to, a lot of people think that running a business means like, oh, you should be scaling to sell your company. Otherwise, like, what is the point effectively? And a lot of like older men I've met have been like, that must be your goal. And we actually decided not to do that. We wanted to remain boutique, small, our success was being able to choose our clients, not beg for clients, be able to be like, this is what we stand for. We want to work with mission-driven B Corps founded by women that respect the environment, etc. And so to kind of do that and try to like win at capitalism, you kind of can't do. And so it's really like defining success for yourself. And what that means was like, I think in our climate where there is this expectation of you to do certain things is super audacious, in my opinion.
Y'all just are just bringing it today. Amara, you also had something you wanted to say earlier, so I want to make sure we bring that in.
Yeah, so as I said, in Pakistan, there is no concept of podcast as such. People are doing it on a very small scale. So when I started doing this, it was very difficult for me also. I mean, I didn't know what I was doing. I was just talking to people, my friends, basically, a few random people. So over here, the podcasters who are actually doing podcasts are actually talking to celebrities. For them, that's a podcast. For me, it was just like talking to normal people and discussing their way of life and how it's helped them and how we're bringing all this talk that we're having and helping others. I'm not making any money out of it, to tell you the truth. I haven't made any money out of my podcast. I've just done 8 episodes, but I'm still looking forward to the fact that I'm helping people. People are listening to me, even though they're normal people who live everyday lives. They move on, they go to work, but they're still talking to me, and they want to spread this, their thought around the world. So that's actually quite intriguing for me, that people are listening and people are coming up and they want to talk about what's happening in their lives. And I hope this in Pakistan picks up and people can actually listen to what our community has to say over here in Pakistan. And women over here are not actually counted as, I mean, it's very hard for women because being a single mother, I've been a single mother for like 22 years now. I have a 22-year-old daughter and I've been working all my life. But it's very difficult when I started this. And right now, I literally have to, tell everyone, oh my God, did you listen to my episode? Okay, this is my link. Because over here, the concept is very, very different. I mean, maybe outside, like in America, in London, people do listen to these things, but in Pakistan, people still don't have the hang up. They still think it's very new to them.
Yeah, there's a part of me that gets really excited when you say that there, Amara, because I'm like, oh, like how much opportunity is there? Like you're bringing in something new to them. There's like there's a fresh market, it's a fresh place where new ideas get a chance to take hold.
Yes.
You know, yeah, I really see y'all here. Is there anyone else that wants to bring anything on this topic before we move on to the next? All right, cool. So here goes like something that showed up earlier here, and it was if we can do one project, Tijana, you talked about if we can do one project your way. We can do one project our way, then once, twice, 3 times, and that was I think we said 8 years ago, something like that. When you first got started here, I'm curious here. So I wanted to bring that up because Outliers, I think there's a really important power in starting with one. A lot of times I think we can get overwhelmed with like, how am I going to be able to make this movement or change the world? Unless it's like, can you just start with one? Can you do one project, one podcast episode, one whatever it is? So I want to bring that into mix. I'm curious now because we have a good like high energy. I love this here. Can we take these high vibes and also bring it into a place where we ran into a time where we had like our own like outlier idea and it just crashed and burned. One of those times where it's just like, oh, that did not go really well. And like take us to that moment. Let us know what you're going for, and then the steps that you took afterwards to overcome that, or where it translated to. Does anyone have one of those stories that they like to share with us?
I do.
Hey, Kiontre, take us away.
I failed a lot, y'all. Okay, I have failed a lot, and so when I talk about success, it's because of my failures. And because of my failures, that specific instance, it was my first paid course. I think it was like $5,600. And I invested into it, and I really didn't know what was going on because I had never been in that type of environment before. So I didn't know how to leverage the community or the back end and the different coaches within it. I didn't know how to ask the questions because all the information was so new. I didn't even know what I was supposed to be asking. So I took in the information, and me trying to be smart, I try to take a lot of shortcuts. And in trying to take shortcuts, I end up cutting myself short. And so everything that they told me to do step by step, which worked for a lot of people, somehow, some way, none of it worked for me. Okay. So I felt like I was ripped off because it was actually a speaking program, but what I had to understand was it wasn't the idea that failed. It was the planning, it was the strategy, and it was the approach and the plan of attack. So a lot of the things, the mindset, the soft skill sets that I needed, the intangible things to withstand, the emotional ability to withstand the trials, the tribulations, the challenges, filling out paperwork, filling out forms, going and getting the proper certifications and or licenses, all of that stuff. I didn't have the proper scope of work to just jump into something. And I think that's one of the fastest ways to fail. And I really appreciate it because it taught me a lot, because the faster I failed, the sooner I can move forward, the sooner I can learn the lesson. So that was probably like one of my big things that I don't know if it was originally my own, but that was like my first venture, if you will. So it was kind of cool.
Allies, somebody hear this, like he's like, it was kind of cool, right? Failure being kind of cool. Like if we could adopt that, how much more freedom would we be able to get? How many more awesome things might we be able to bring out to the world? Who else? Who else has something like I think that the operative thing here is like that they want to share, because I'm like everyone has a story. That part we know. And anyone else feeling called right now? Jesse,
I'll
I'm
say
actually,
something.
yeah. All right, cool.
Oh,
I
were
said, I
you
was
gonna
like,
call?
yeah, I was like energetically, I'm like, I feel like Jesse's got something right now.
Well, again, I love what Keontae said, because he's like, yeah, crash and burn, and you want to fail fast because you want to learn. And when you first asked that question of like, where's something you crashed hard and like crashed and burned, it was a really big failure. And it's not like my mind didn't go blank, but I was like, I don't know. And I have failed a lot too, but it's that shift in mindset. Like my mindset junkie is going to show through right here of everything is for me. Everything is for me. And so if I fail, like, yeah, like Keontae, like, can I please fail fast so I can learn the lesson quicker? Like, I don't want to have this take a ton of time, but what a great mindset to have is everything is for me, and we're going to have those failures. And if we can expect them and anticipate them and not love them, because obviously when we have an idea, when we step out, we want to do something, like we want it to be successful. But it's sometimes, I think it was Thomas Edison, inventor of the light bulb, that said, I just found, 100 different ways that a light bulb doesn't work. And it wasn't a failure, but he was like, now I know that those 100 ways aren't the way to do it. And it's kind of that same mentality of we can learn, what we don't want to do. And Tiana, you said something too, like, I don't want to scale. I don't want to do this. It's going back to defining success. It's kind of like defining failure as well. It's not a failure if it's not what I was going for, right? Like, I don't know. It's just kind of those like, I've trained myself to reframe so many different things so that every experience in my life can be beneficial to either me or someone else in my life that I come in contact with, where I'm like, oh, that was for you. That's why I did that. That's why that failed. That was for you. And those reframes can make our failures not exciting. I don't want to say exciting, but I don't know. Like Keontae, you kind of had that like exciting energy around your failures. So.
Thank you for that. Totally. I'm gonna come to you on this one now. What's feeling? And here's the thing: even if I come to you, if you don't want to answer it, just like I don't want to answer it. I'm like, oh, now I gotta add that to my list of failures. Like that time when So if anything's popping off for you, please share it here.
Yeah. So I feel like for myself, I look at it as like feedback, especially with being a therapist. It's such an abstract role, where you're helping people, at times like, okay, I know I'm helping you. However, at the end of the day, your therapist is not there to tell you specifically what to do, or we're not there to tell you, to help you make specific decisions. Like we're there to help and guide you. And so I feel like for myself, I'm in like this constant state of like, was that helpful? Was that not helpful? Let's just see. And I let myself like linger there and hang out there and give my self this space as well, right? Of maybe the things that we may have talked about or worked on or practice, to get feedback on, right? So I look at it as like not failure, but just feedback for me to course correct, right? When I first started as a therapist, the first certain things I did, there are certain things I let go of that I don't presently do because I was like, oh, okay, this is unhelpful, but I wouldn't have known if I didn't try. So I feel like I hang around in the space of like, I like to look at it as feedback. I don't see it as failure. Failure is only if I dropped everything completely and I stopped and I said, okay, I'm done and I'm just a failure and I let myself stay there, then that is failure, right? But it's feedback. It's feedback for you to course correct. It's feedback for you to try something else. It's feedback for you to get resource or help. It's also, I look at it as curiosity, right? How can I be more curious here? What went well? What did not go well? What is this trying to tell me? Is my kind of reframe and how I look at failure. But yeah, there's lots of times where, things won't go right and things won't go according to plan, but that's life. Like,
that is life. That's life there. And Outliers, I'm gonna invite you because I'm really enjoying coming to you, Outliers, and be like, all right, so now put this into action. My invitation is to think back from a place where you've recently gotten some feedback, and you may have interpreted one way or the other, but like go in and just do some cataloging of that feedback for yourself. And I'm going to ask you for some feedback. Maybe it's feed forward, which is that as we wrap up this conversation, I know that there's been a lot of powerful sharings that's been in here, and if there's been anything in this conversation that's really touched you, like please, I ask you to go share this episode with one person in your world. You can go and put it all over your social medias, you can send out emails, all that, but if there's one person that you're like, hey, you need to hear what Jessie said or what Amara said or what Kiontre said or Tijana or Tolu, like this conversation was fire, like please share it with them and let them know why you chose them, right? And that will give us some feed forward and some feedback around like all right, what's working? What's going well with this? And if you're like, there's no one that comes to mind and you want to just leave a review so that anyone can read that, go ahead and do that too. All right. As we wrap up here, I want to give us a chance for Outliers to continue the journey with each of you. I think each of you are incredible. I wish you all success in what you're doing. And what I like to do is have us wrap up with two questions, right? So we're going to go to each person and you're going to answer both of them. The first one is, what's an insight that you got from this conversation? Up until now, we've been sharing some of our past experiences, and it's what I would call an outsight. An outsight is like a lesson that you want other people to pick up on. This is now just about you. What did you gain? How are you different now that you entered this conversation than how are you different now than when you entered this conversation, right? So it's an insight that you got from this conversation, and if you didn't have an insight, you can just be like, I think that I'm the same. We're good, right? And then I would love for you to do this. We're going to wrap this. I think we're going to do this in twofold. Share with us like a really cool project that you're excited about right now, something that's going on in your world or business or podcast that you're really excited about. And then let us know how we can come and join you on that journey, right? How we can continue the journey with you. Sound good? Awesome. Tijana, would you mind getting us started on this? What's an insight that you got from this conversation? And then tell us about something cool and how we can join you.
Sure. I found it really interesting, the last question that we just had, and I really agree with the mentality of starting with one being important, stops procrastination, stops us overthinking, getting out of our own way. But I also think that as much as the initial output is important, having a plan for what to do next, like, yes, I've made one that has now worked. What happens now? Because I kind of love the saying of like, I'm scared because what happens if it fails, but also what happens if it doesn't. I think there is more fear around things going well, and then the responsibility that you have to have around that success than just like failing on your own and that not affecting anybody. So I guess for me, it's this, like, I'm just reflecting on the kind of failing to have number two after having number one. And that failure of a lack of structure and follow-up beyond that initial output, I think is something really like additive to just like, hey, get something out there in the world. It's like, okay, well, what happens next? And your second question on something cool that I'm doing that I want to share. I guess, so much of my work has very much been like behind the guise of my business. I initially built the agency because I wanted something bigger than me. I wanted it to be not called me. I wanted it to be bigger than me. I immediately got a co-founder because that felt like it was going to be bigger than me. And I think I did that because as a model for 10 years, it was all about me and it felt very personal if it didn't work out. And so now I'm in a space of like trying to go back out there as like with somewhat of a personal brand, like a bit slightly more professional personal brand, maybe like a bit more on LinkedIn and stuff. So I just put my LinkedIn in this chat for you guys to like connect if you can, because I'm trying to share more of like these conversations around, I guess, the feminization of power and a bunch of other kind of things that I've figured out and worked through over the last 10 years and trying to share them, but again, through myself. So I'm sort of like rebranding who I am, and kind of coming out behind kind of the facade of my business as myself. And I guess, yeah, it'd be cool and appreciated if anyone wanted to kind of listen along that journey.
Thank you so much, Tiana. And so, Outliers, there's a you'll find Tiana on LinkedIn. There's also, you can check the show notes. There should be a link there as well. All right, cool. Why don't we go to Amara and then we'll go to Kiontre. We're going to wrap this up here. We're coming right up at the top of the hour, so I want to make sure we're good. But share an insight that you got and how people can continue the journey with you.
Yeah, so I think failures, as Jessie said, is a part of life. And what I've learned is that you need to accept them, be positive, and take life as it is. And I mean, these people are doing so well. So that's about it, I guess. And I'm not working on any other project right now. As I told you, I'm going through this grief period. My mother just passed away.
Sorry
So
about
this is
that.
something that I wanted to do. I've just done 8 episodes, so it's just on a very small scale. So maybe later on in December or January, I'll start again. So right now, I'm just going through life and getting over my grief. So let's see how things go in the future.
All right, can you remind us the name of your podcast in case anyone is here?
So I'm Stop Talking, and I've only done 8 episodes, and we've talked about family law, we've talked about IVF babies, we've talked about people, friendships, relationships.
Nice.
So we've talked about a lot of things. It's every episode is different from the other.
Perfect. All right, we got that. And Amara, if you don't mind, I'm going to play one of those reframes on here. You've already done 8 episodes, so I'm excited for what comes next. Awesome. Kiontre and then Jessie. We'll go with that. Yep.
Hey, so one of the things that I've learned here is just the ability to reframe where I was. I didn't consider it reframing specifically to my failure. I didn't always view failure that way. I wasn't always excited about it, but I'm excited about it now because of the growth and the development and seeing it amongst this panel and seeing people. I'm like, oh, wow, that inspired me, because when you say where you are now, getting around like-minded people and having this conversation, you kind of know in order to be in this position or where you are, you've had to go through some things. And that level of pain is what I can really understand. So to hear Jessie, to hear Tolu, to hear Tijana and Amara and Niiamah Ashong, to hear everybody and we come together collectively, I'm like, wow, don't ever stop getting around like-minded people. It's so powerful because it can really launch you into your next level, your next whatever it is. It can really change the trajectory of your life. So that's what I take away from this conversation.
Thank you. And Kiontre, how can we follow you more?
You follow me on Instagram at average2amazing, all spelled out, average2amazing. And that's how you can keep up with the day-to-day with me.
Thank you so much. Thanks for being here. Jessie and then Tolu.
Yeah, one of the insights that I had is say yes. Say yes to, it's not necessarily what we talked about here, but I got an email from a guy I didn't know about having a conversation with a whole bunch of people I didn't know. And this has been so filled my cup so much and has given me so much insight and so many things to think about. And I think it's really cool when you have conversations with people from all different walks of life, from all different experiences. I mean, none of you are from where I'm from or have my same experiences. And it's really cool to see our commonalities and to see our differences and just what we can learn from each other. So it's been a very, very insightful conversation. So thank every single one of you for sharing and for being open. Something exciting that I am working on right now is I launched a new podcast. Kids are actually kind of my passion right now. I have 3 littles of my own, and they love when I just spew all this mental health and stuff at them. So me and my best friend launched 5-minute meditations for kids, and it's been such a fun endeavor. You can find us on all the podcasts. You can find us on YouTube, all those things. So that's been my fun passion project right now.
Thanks, Jessie. That sounds really incredible. Tolu.
Yeah. So for myself, I would say my a big takeaway and something that stuck out to me was redefining success for each and every person, as that looks different, right? What might be defined as successful to myself differs for somebody else, right? And just keeping that in mind, a lot of times we are brought up to see success as just like being a billionaire or having a certain amount of money or having certain status and things like that, but actually reflecting and asking ourselves like, okay, what are my values, right? What are important to me? How do I want my life to look like, right? What are the true things that will actually make me happy and not just living under a gaze of like what somebody else expects of us, either family or culturally or any of that. So yeah, that was very insightful. And it's so lovely to meet all of you guys from all over the world. Very cool. Um, and for myself right now, I've been creating a lot of content as well. So I hang out a lot on TikTok and Instagram. So you can find me on there. It's just Tolu, Tolu, and my last name, Adepoju, where I share mental health related content, also travel content as well, because I love traveling and I believe it's a form of self-care. And yeah, thank you so much.
Yeah,
Well,
also, I would can I say something?
Amar, we're going to wrap up the conversation right here for today. But I wanted to say like thank you all so very much for playing the game that you do out in the world. Thank you for saying yes to this random random invitation. But more importantly, thank you for continuing to live out as an outlier. I appreciate each of you. I'm excited for all the things that come out from here, and I'm looking forward to us continuing to grow with one another. All right. Until then, remember to be you on purpose. Journey on.